You know, this used to be a hell of a good country. I can't understand what's going on with it.
Man, everybody got chicken, that's what happened. Hey, we can't even get into, like, a second-rate hotel. I mean, a second-rate motel, you dig? Don't they think we're going to cut their throat or something, man? Like, they're scared, man.
Oh, they're not scared of you. They're scared of what you represent to them.
Hey, man. All we represent to them, man, is somebody who needs a haircut.
Oh, no. What you represent to them is freedom.
What the hell's wrong with freedom, man? That's what it's all about.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's what it's all about, all right. But talking about it and being it, that's two different things. I mean, it's real hard to be free when you are bought and sold in the marketplace. Of course, don't ever tell anybody that they're not free, because then they're going to get real busy killing and maiming to prove to you that they are. Oh, yeah, they're going to talk to you and talk to you and talk to you about individual freedom. What they see a free individual, it's going to scare them.
No, well, don't make them running scared.
No, it makes them dangerous.
It is Tuesday, the 26th of November, 2013. And we're going to start off our show, the Unpenned Show, with me, Paul.
Me, Andy.
And with a 5-2 bet on Christmas number 1. Possibly our most explosive opening to the show. Hello, pal.
Good evening, Paul.
This is the second start for the Unpenned Show. My name's Paul.
My name's Andy.
And we are live around the world. Thank you for listening, however you're doing so. wakeradio.co.uk, the Shazziz Network, or Blog Talk. We do thank you very much for your time, and we appreciate it as well.
We do.
It keeps us thinking, it keeps us focused.
It does.
And if you're listening to this on YouTube, below this YouTube video you're now listening to is the entire show, music and everything. And if you just want to know, you've just missed a 5-2 long show, a 5-2 bet on the Christmas number 1. AC/DC's 40th anniversary, Highway to Hell. Cracking song.
Do they know these people that write these songs, do you think?
Oh, I think the heavy rock bands have known for a long, long time, but they've cashed in on it. They've used the image. They've always dressed in. They've dressed in the satanic images. Yeah. They've sold the T-shirts, sold the look, sold the music, and cashed in on it.
Yeah,
we've been told that this is all real.
Yes,
and
it happens by chance.
You know, well, we've been told that this satanic movement, the satanic stuff, the devil worship. The star, it's story upon story upon story that's built this reality that isn't like that at all, is it? Okay? What we've learned about over the past 5-6 years is just an alter ego reality.
Yeah.
Where I know something you don't know, and I'm going to learn to use it against you. And that's what's been happening here. The advertisers, they are possibly the most guilty of all, because they have learned all the tricks of how to entice us in.
Yeah.
And we're just now learning how poor we have been for so very long, because we've lived life as real debt slaves, and we never knew we were debt slaves. But now they want the money back. And that's where we are. We're finding it at our level, which is the very bottom level. The bottom level is quite a wide level, if you see what I mean. Yeah. There's working and non-working, and there's those that can still pay the bills, and those that can nearly pay the bills, and those that can't pay the bills. It's the largest number in the bottom level. And even though the soles of your feet are not called the bottom, because what is called the bottom is where the stuff you don't need anymore comes from.
Yeah.
And we're living in a time like no other time has ever been. We now have more people with less things to do than maybe we've ever had. My reading of history does confirm we've got more people with less to do. And technology is increasing that number on a daily basis.
Yep.
You can see it at your petrol stations, you can see it at your supermarkets,
yeah.
And you can see it in your libraries, and you can see it in all sorts of little areas where we don't need as many people. Now, we can argue if there's going to be too many people in the world, there are too many people on the planet, but why would we? I know that the 7 billion plus that there claims to be on here can all fit with a house in the state of Texas. I know that. I know they can all be fit into Australia and the rest of the world is empty. I realise that. But that's not the business model that we live in. Because we live in a business. Now, we see countries. The world is, for us, countries, religions, money, and borders.
Yeah.
Borders.
Mm.
Okay, so when you move from one ship to another, you've got to borders.
You have.
You've got to get through the border.
Mm.
Okay, if you become a border, you're staying overnight. All connects very well together.
It certainly does.
But they don't see countries. They see resources.
Yeah.
And that includes us. Now, because of the education we've been receiving, primarily over the last 20, 30 years, the population doesn't have as much value as it did have previously.
Mm.
Is it the fact that the government is actually providing an education system that doesn't teach people to expect too much because they already knew that they weren't going to get it? Well, yeah. Well, yeah. Because the government is the one that decides how many available places out there are for whoever wants to be trained in whatever they feel. I mean, in the 90s, towards the end of the 90s, the biggest uptake in further education courses was beauticians and hairdressers.
And media studies probably as well.
But that means that they already knew that they had to make that amount of people, because the agenda was to make more people into narcissists.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's no I in team, but there's 3 in narcissist.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we've got. We've got a population that is only interested in what other people think about them.
Yeah.
And that's why in the pre-show show that we started, we all want to be judged. But we want to be judged in a way that is complimentary. Because we're rubbish at taking critique. I mean, you have to look at the X Factor crowd. And in the early days, when they get rejected, and they come out of the room, as it were, where they've performed, and they come out of the room, and they're interviewed by what's his face? I can't remember his name. It doesn't matter. And they're interviewed, and they always blame the judges, or the choice of song, or the fact they were tired, or they had a sore throat. Right? They always blame external forces for their bad performance. Well, that's just a little microcosm of what too many people are now doing.
Mm-hmm.
They look for somebody to blame. And the word blame is just to be lame. In other words, you can't stand up for yourself. You can't take what life brings you. You can't take what life deals in your hand, as it were. And it's just to be lame. Now, the word lame must be derived from the word meal or male, because to be lame is to be the meal for the male that's going to catch you. It's the old adage. You don't have to be able to run faster than a bear. You just need to be able to run faster than the last person in your group, because that's who the bear's going to catch. You know, that sort of adage, that sort of way going on. We're actually breeding weak people who don't have what it takes because the education system doesn't supply them with what they need. And I'll come back to the advertisers. They have given us an external materialistic existence that says if you buy this, your life will be better. If you buy this, you'll have more friends. If you buy this, you will be more successful. This, of course, cannot possibly be true. It can't be true. But it hasn't stopped anybody doing it, has it?
No. And we love it, don't we? We can't get enough of that. People telling us that we can better ourselves by buying something.
But we get to this age now where we are now the dinosaurs, aren't we?
Yes.
And we're trying not to become extinct and old-fashioned too quickly.
Yeah.
Because if we do, nobody will listen to us. So we try and use this modern marketing tool. I actually love technology. I mean, we're sat here in North Yorkshire, and we could be broadcasting... Well, no, we're not. But we could be broadcasting to many thousands of people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's as good as for free, isn't it?
Yeah, just about.
It's a remarkable game. But back to advertising. Here's a voice that I know you know.
By the way, if anyone here is in advertising or marketing, kill yourself. Thank you. Thanks. Just a little thought. I'm just trying to plant seeds. Maybe one day they'll take root. I don't know. You try. You do what you can. Kill yourselves. Seriously, though, if you are, do. No, really. There's no rationalization for what you do, and you are Satan's little helpers. Okay? Kill yourself. Seriously. You're the ruiner of all things good. Seriously.
Now, I do like Bill Hicks. I do like him. He was a real, genuine, unique one-off. Years ahead of his time, and he left us years ahead of the time he should have done as well.
Yep.
Lots and lots of conspiracy ideas about what happened there, but it doesn't matter. He's gone now, but he's left us enough for us to realise that he knew a long time ago what we're just learning now. And that's important, that we should at least understand that the game that we're playing and the lessons that we're learning are just because we are the newest players.
Yes.
This game has been going on. I'm currently reading the Making of the Middle Class, or the Working Class. Yeah, the Making of the English Working Class. And it starts from the 1600s. And it's got excerpts of all sorts of diaries and news releases and speeches. It's got lots and lots of stuff like that in it. And although I can't remember them, because there's too much information, it's the same complaints. It's the same desires. An Englishman wants his castle, and he wants to be left alone to work and spend his money as he wishes to. It's the same complaint. And this is nearly 400 years ago. And it's the same complaint. And the book's all about the fight for freedom through late 1600s right through to about 1850. And it's the same fight. It's the same struggle against the same control system who employ the same methods to fool us and divide us. They talk about agents provocateurs in there. They talk about the rich men fighting amongst each other and getting the poor people to do it for them.
Yeah.
They talk about why they built churches, so that they could build their forces. Because the only way that you can get rich in this world and stay rich in this world is to be able to repel all challenges. And those challenges can come in business, or they can come personally. And it's your force, or a massed force, to repel the challenge. We've told a story about the tramp in the landowner's field, haven't we?
Yeah.
And when he goes out on a horse one morning for his morning ride, and he spots a tramp who's been camping in the edge of one of his fields. And he says to the tramp, "Wake up, wake up, wake up! This is my land, and you're not welcome on it. So move yourself along." And the tramp said, "This is your land, is it?" He said, "Yes, it is." "Yours?" Yes, it is. I've told you once. Yes, it is mine. And how come it's yours? Because I have the paperwork and the deeds and everything. It belongs to me. They said, "How?" I know that computer's coughing and spluttering, isn't it?
It is a bit, yeah.
I noticed that, yeah, but it's still working. And he said, "I've got the deeds and the property. It's been in my family for years." And the tramp says, "Years?" He says, "Yeah, years." He said, "So tell me again. It's been in our family for years. How did your family get it?" He said, "Going back to 1100s, my family were part of the establishment that fought for this country, and my family were given this land." "Fought for it?" he said. "Yes, we fought for it." And the tramp says, "Take your jacket off, and I'll fight you for it now." You know, it's that we've forgotten what we should know because we've never been told it, and yet when somebody tells us it all makes sense, doesn't it? We think we've been living in a system that's been around thousands of years. And it has.
It has, yeah.
But the current form that we live in, with a police service, a health service, and with all the services around us, so we don't physically have to go far or do much. This is brand new, isn't it? This is a level of luxury that we've never experienced before. And we were sold it from the 20s onwards, but it was the 50s and 60s after the Second World War when this country saw, its greatest recovery. It's rebuilding after the war, the GDP, people were able to save and buy things they needed. And it wasn't until the fiat currency came in 1971 that we didn't have access to debt. You couldn't have debt. That's not strictly true. They got TVs in the 60s, didn't they?
Yeah.
You could pay for TVs on the tick. And the catalogue system, the old catalogues, buying clothes through the catalogues, had started to come along. And the football pools, of course, they were well ensconced then, weren't they? So things were changing in the 60s, but our access to debt for things like kitchens and holidays and that, we didn't have that.
No.
You had to queue up for your mortgage. You had to wait till your building society had enough money to give you a mortgage. And you had to be a saver, and you had to be, living locally, and you had to get references and all sorts of things, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It wasn't easy.
No.
And the girls couldn't have one. Girls couldn't have a mortgage. I don't quite know when the girls got access to debt. Credit, debt, same thing. But it wasn't in the late 60s. Anyway, I digress. We've been living a life of illusion, many of us, for over 30 years.
Yeah.
They called it credit, but really it was debt. And we're just learning how poor we are now. Because if you cash up what's outstanding in your life and you have something left, you are indeed in credit. But if you cash up everything that's outstanding and you're not in credit, you're still a debt slave.
Yeah.
And the freedom of losing the chains of a mortgage and car payments and that sort of thing, it does feel different.
It does, yeah, man.
To those that are still tied down.
I remember I was born into a time when my parents and my grandparents really didn't have much. My grandparents specifically were living in rented accommodation in council housing, because they were classed as the working class then, and which is a strange one in itself, the working class.
Even the word is working.
Well,
we used to be in charge, we used to be sovereign, we used to be more than we are, but now we're just working. But past tense of. Yeah.
But the creation of the middle class is the biggest illusion, because if you're in the middle class and you're still working, how can you call yourself middle class?
Yeah.
You're still working class, surely.
That's the old derivative, isn't it?
Yes.
The new derivative now is being able to pay your bills.
Yes.
That's if you're working class because you can pay your bills and afford to go on holiday.
Yeah. But the things that my parents and my grandparents had in their houses, it was bought and paid for. The table, the chairs, the living room suite that we sat in, it was all bought and paid for.
And if it wasn't, you just hand-me-downs.
And they said yes,
yeah,
or it was hand-me-down, or you saved up for the carpets, you saved up for to do the decorating. But my kids have been born into a world of debt, because we have the car loan.
I remember saying to me mother,
the mortgage.
This is the way it is nowadays.
Yeah, yeah.
You've got to go into and I just accepted it.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember being absolutely okay accepting it.
Even down to your clothes on the stock, on your top man card.
I know, but yeah. I was so proud to have my bloody Burton's card.
Yeah, but
couldn't bloody believe it.
Come for a Burton's card. They do. They have a laugh at us, really, don't they?
They do, actually. They do.
Are having a laugh.
To be honest, we've got to sort of halfway enjoy this. I mean, there are two ways of seeing the world, aren't there? There's the doom and gloom and depression world.
Yeah.
And there's the tree hugging, everything's going to be okay if you just blow kisses and whatever.
You've got to think it's consciousness. We've got to think it. We've got to think it into reality.
But we know we have to speak it into reality to start it off.
That is how it works. It's see and saw.
Let's do the people's voice after. Yeah, going to say hello to a new old face in the Awake Radio chat box. Then that's Andy Hunt. I don't know what the old in or whatever it must be old old in the wild. Anyway, let's see, Andy. I don't know where you've been for the past 5 months. Did you finally just get out last week or something? Anyway, he's just part of the gang who's trying to put out information and see what we can all do with it. But information is a good and bad thing.
Yes.
Because this is information overload. And I've been an advocate a long time that the news doesn't wake you up.
No.
The news will not wake you up in a way that other things can. The news will never, ever wake you up.
I use it to put things in perspective. I listen to the news, I listen to Radio 4.
Well, you use it in many ways for confirmation, don't we?
Yeah, it confirms to me that Agenda 21 is up and running, perfectly working well. The establishment's working very well, and it's the thermometer up the backside to see how well they're doing. And if it doesn't quite work out, they put it on a back burner, and then they bring it back in again a little bit later on.
It's a never-ending round and round in circles we go.
Yeah.
And the idea is that we're meant to be scared by a non-existent threat called the internet. Now, we actually are so addicted to the life that this tells us is going on. When we look out of our window, we're just bored sick, aren't we? Well, that's not what I can see on here. They want what they're creating here on the internet.
Yeah.
They want us, to recreate it in the real world.
Yeah.
They want us to paint the real world dark, deceptive, depressing, satanic, paranoid, and full of fear.
Yeah.
That's the world they want us to bring into being.
Yeah. I'm wary of these people that are saying revolution. That's all they're talking about.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this ISON thing. Some say that ISON is a massive space. It's just a bloody comet. It's just a bloody... I've heard this so many times. Pack it in. Hijacking the... It's just a comet. It's just a comet. If you want to believe it's anything else, go right ahead. This is... Put on your Superman uniform. Put on your Space Cadets kit. For God's sake, I mean, it's just going to be a comet, right?
Isn't there a comet in the Bayeux Tapestry?
For Christ's sake.
Didn't William the Conqueror say it was a sign from heaven? It's only what the Druids have done.
People discuss stuff they can't see, they can't feel, they can't hear, they can't touch it, they can't bloody smell it, but by God, they're going to tell you it's coming. It's not bloody coming. The real world is not going to knock on your door, break down the door, and steal things out of your house. That's not what the real world's going to do. The real world, if you can get in and get involved and get along with it, is going to be happy to help you if you help it.
Yeah.
The world is full of nice people who perhaps don't know the things they need to know. This is bullshit. I'm not having it. I'm not having it. This chat box has been hijacked by somebody who's talking dreamland. This is all fear, and I'm not having it.
We've got 72
Get out of my
years.
chat box.
We've got 72 years when we're here, if you're lucky. And in that time, you've got to do something with your life, and there is too much fear on this. And I was just going to say the Druids did it. This is why they ended up wearing white robes and growing long white beards. Is because they knew when the
this shows people's ignorance.
They knew when the eclipses were going to be, and they could stamp the stick on the floor and say, if you don't do as you're told, I will make the sun go out.
I'll make the sun eat the moon, the moon eat the sun, that sort of thing.
And they went out, and everybody went, better do as he says.
Yeah, I know.
You know, and they used mistletoe, and they took drugs then, and to make it look like that. I know it were all the tricks of the trade at the time, and they're still using the same tricks of the trade.
We don't realise that we've been regressed.
Yes, we've
been made less than we used to be. We've been made younger, more immature.
Yeah,
we've been made to be. It's in a fascination.
Of course it is. If you believe in time travel, that fits perfectly.
Yeah,
because
it's a fascination.
You've been taken back to being children again.
We've been put back in the matrix, which is the uterus.
Uterus, yeah.
We've been put back in to be GMO'd, to be genetically bloody modified.
Yep.
It's out today about the salmon. The salmon are being farmed somewhere, and these frankenfish and that sort of thing. If we don't stop spreading fairy tales, fairy stories, and staring up into the sky for our...
We've always been looking to the
we're
heavens.
Just nuts. The solution looks back at you in the mirror every day.
Yeah,
the solution is your ignorance.
Yeah.
It's your refusal to accept you've been conned. You've sat down at a game table and you've lost. You've lost because you let the game makers tell you what the rules were.
Yeah.
They've cheated. But have they cheated? Or did you just sign where you were told to sign?
I did. Just signed
Because
where I was told to
these
sign.
people look at us like stupid little children. And that is exactly what we keep confirming we are. Because we shout at mummy and daddy because we're not happy about the conditions. But we still want our pocket money. And we won't go to work. We want something for nothing. The People's Voice. Well done for the People's Voice. On air, virtually trouble-free. Pretty impressive. Pretty impressive. Watched an hour last night with Sonia Poulton. She's going to take a bit of getting used to, but I don't dislike her. She's just going to take a bit of getting used to. She's a new face, you know, you just think, oh, take a bit of getting used to.
Yeah.
And I watched a little bit this evening as well, and she had a barrister on, and I'm not sure he was telling the truth, but what does that matter? I don't want to argue about the truth with anybody, because I know you haven't got it. Have you got it?
No.
Have I got
Definitely.
it? No, I haven't, no. So please don't tell me you've got it, and please don't tell me he's got it. Okay, he works for the other side. Okay, he works for the bar. Alright, that's the other side of the fence. Now, do I know he's wrong? No, I don't know he's wrong. Do I know he's right? No, I don't know he's right. Do I believe him? No, I don't believe him, no. Because all he said is of no use to me. I can't use it. I cannot use anything he told me to my benefit. So, it was an interesting half an hour. Am I going to repeat any of it? No. None of it. I just spent 30 minutes of my life watching something that I can't use. And I knew I was going to do that. So I'm not going to use it.
No.
Do I believe him? Of course I don't believe him. I don't want you to believe me either. I'm not going to quote you very many facts and figures. And if I do, you'll find them on my Facebook page. And you'll find my source on the Facebook page. And I'm going to tell you that source is something I can't guarantee is true.
No.
So I do not claim to have the truth. All we've ever done in our shows is to say what we see and share it how it makes sense. The world's a business. It's always been a business.
It has.
And we are the employees and the customers. Okay, we play both sides of... Look at this country like a bloody great big hotel. And we all supply its services, and then we all go spend the money buying the services that we need. And they're just trying to make it more efficient and more efficient and more efficient until all we can do is exist, and they provide the gas, the electric, the water, the food, the fuel, and nothing else. They want us to be the most efficient batteries that we can be, and they're going to house us like batteries. Battery hens. I'm going to be stacked up one on top of the other. We're going to live in little boxes, and we're going to be okay with that, because technology is going to hypnotise us and amuse us to death. And that's what they're going to do. And what will be left will be a museum. Because it'll be a museum. They'll leave it all intact. When we're gone, they'll just leave it. And it'll be there for everyone to see. That this was the age of stupidity. Scared, thoroughly uninformed people in denial. This was the age of stupidity. Where we told them day after day after day. We put it in the papers, we put it in the films, we put it in the pop songs, we let them have their own radio stations, we let them spread their version of the future, and nobody listened. And as we were watching, as we peered down and watched what they were doing, and realised the futility of what they were trying to achieve, it confirmed that our plan to reduce the population by enormous numbers was the right step to take to save the earth and to save the very species itself from devolving into nothing more than back to monkeys, because that's how we saw them, as monkeys. And we gave them a daytime dream that they believed, and we wrote them songs about it. And we told them and told them and told them, and they weren't smart enough to even listen to what we were telling them. We gave them corrupt politicians, and they wouldn't replace them. We gave them corrupt police, and they didn't replace them. Then we split the families up, and they didn't care, because we had them staring into their mobile phone screens because they were more interested in what somebody else was doing that they don't know and had probably never met than what the real world was doing around them. And we told them, get off Facebook. It's not good for you. We even got the guy who ran Facebook to call the people who used it dumb effers. We thought of as many ways as we could to say, don't do that, children. Don't do that, children. We've told you, don't do that, children. It's there if you want it, but we recommend you don't do it. And still we did it. And then we poisoned the food. And they all got sick. And no one ever asked the question, why are we all getting sick? And there was a few people who were shouting that this is part of a plan. If we don't turn it round, there'll be no future. And then we started on the kids. And we thought we'd get them back into a national service plan. So we could, over the years, develop an entire army that knew nothing else but the wages that we gave them. We said that we would have them for a year, but we're going to keep them for longer than that. Everybody works for the government. We just didn't realise, did we? We just didn't realise that this system is going to take everything. And I don't know how we're going to do it, do you? How we're going to stop it?
No,
because there's meant to be a global awakening going on, yeah?
Yes, meant to be.
You see any signs of that?
Not round here.
I see a global maddening at the news.
Yeah.
I see global protesting about how the governments are no longer giving you as much feed as they used to.
Yeah.
I watched The People's Voice tonight, and after the barrister was on, I think there was somebody else on, I don't know, I came back to it about half an hour later, and they were on a phone-in. And the phone-in was, the couple of calls that I heard, one of them was a lady from Finland, I think, and she was talking about the birth certificate and the bond that allegedly is in place, and how she just wanted a little bit of that bond so she could put her daughter through a good education. To believe this stuff. To believe this stuff.
Anything with a bond in it, I don't want anything to do with it. I say, keep your money.
And the presenter didn't have a clue what she was talking about. Now, anybody who claims to be awake should know a little bit about what she was talking about. Because that is very much the early days of what you discover, isn't it?
Yep.
Now, is there millions of pound bond behind that birth certificate? Well, whether there is or there isn't, you're not going to get it.
I'd like to share a revelation that I've had during my time here. It came to me when I tried to classify your species. I realized that you're not actually mammals. Every mammal on this planet instinctively develops a natural equilibrium with the surrounding environment, but you humans do not. You move to an area and you multiply, and multiply until every natural resource is consumed. And the only way you can survive is to spread to another area. There is another organism on this planet that follows the same pattern. Do you know what it is? A virus. Human beings are a disease, a cancer of this planet. You are a plague, and we are the cure.
Well, that's what they say. Welcome back then. It's 9:45. Tuesday, the 26th of November, 2013, 4 weeks away from Christmas Eve.
It certainly is.
Where do we start?
Well, I just wanted to highlight a few things about war, because this is a war. We wake up to hello, or we greet people with hello.
Which is a Latin for... Well, the word hell is the word war. And the word bell is the word war.
Bell is war.
And all fights start with hell or bell.
Yeah.
Hell's bells. Because our language is, in essence, we're taught to fight.
Yeah.
And the hello is, in many ways, an invite to fight. But we don't actually use fists, but we do score points with our fingers.
Yeah.
And jabs. And shots. And blows.
Yeah.
And we recollect blow by blow. Because they've made us so little that we don't now trust anybody.
No.
We think everybody's on the make, on the take. Everyone's going to screw us. And corruption's the way forward.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly what they want us to feel and think and act like. And I'd like to say it's mostly not true, but partly it is.
It is.
Because it's the only way you can... The grey economy has to exist. Otherwise we wouldn't have an economy.
No. and the world's built on war economy. It's built on a war economy.
But our lives are war and peace. You know, if I mean, this is the magic that we can do with our heads. If I say, put a ruler in your head, okay? Now take all the numbers off the ruler and write at one end of the ruler war and write at the other end of the ruler peace, and then put a ball underneath the ruler. And you'll see that your life is like a high wire act, trying to keep war and peace balanced. But they want to take us to war with each other, not war with them.
No.
You see, we want our lives to be peace on our terms. Well, that's what the Iron Mountain Treaty is. Peace on their terms. We want a life of peaceful negotiations, interactions, but that's not what we get, is it?
No, and that's...
Because it's all based on what we think is the correct and right way forwards.
Yes, and that's come from your education.
It has.
Right from your education. And I remember coaching junior rugby, and we coached junior rugby and taught them how to play the game of rugby, and that game of rugby was getting that ball over to the other end of the field and on the try line as many times as you could to score as many points to win. But then...
But they're all tries.
But yes.
That's what life is.
Exactly.
It's a succession of tries and falling over.
But how they confuse the kids is by saying, but it's although it's competition, it's not who wins and it's not who loses. It's about who's playing the game, and this is where the confusion starts.
Because they hate competition.
Because they do.
They don't want us to compete with them.
No.
They want us to be domesticated.
They do. Yeah.
They want us to sit in front of the fire and just don't fight.
They want us to be the children playing children's games.
That's right. That's why they give us ball games.
Exactly.
Every game's a ball.
Of course.
That's right, have a ball.
But it's the rules that we play to are totally different rules that they play to.
We're told to play fair.
Yes.
They don't.
As we did with you've got to play fair. It's, you know, but of course, through life, this is where your mind starts to whir around and you think, hang on a minute, I've been told to play fairly, and the other guys aren't. I'm getting kicked and punched, and nobody's saying, hang on, ref, I got a punch here. I didn't see it.
But the judges are the referees, aren't they?
Yes.
The judges are the referees. In this system, they decide how much you're going to lose by. You're never going to win.
No.
Because this is the game of sales. Everyone's having a sale. Every time they open their mouth, they try to sell you something. Whether it's a better future, a worse future, a product, an idea, whatever it is, it's a sale. Well, all sales, especially those that are from the from the bad guys, they buy the product in, especially to sell it to you.
Yeah.
And this is what's going on a little bit on the internet. They're actually reselling. They're becoming wholesalers.
They are.
Because they go to the point of origin, right, and then they package it up, right, in their own wrapper. Okay, wrapper isn't a mistake. Yeah, music can be wrapped as well, can't it?
It can.
This is music that we're talking now. So they package it up in their own wrapper and try and add value to it as if they've made it themselves. And that's what this sales game is all about. There's nothing new under the sun. There's just new victims or customers to sell to. And that's what goes on in the internet. That's what I saw in the People's Voice this evening. This was a lady who was at the start of her journey, who truly believed that she was owed some money by a system that is designed to take everything she's got to offer.
Yeah.
And she did really think that by studying hard, that she's going to be able to apply for some of that money.
Mm-hmm.
This is the naivety.
It is.
This is the innocence that we start this journey with.
Yes.
But it's not the innocence that you sort of get out of your first maze, as it were, because then you feel the oppression, you feel the chains, you feel the confinement, and you start looking for other ways out.
Yes.
And there aren't other ways out.
No.
There is nowhere to run to.
No.
The only way out is to give up all that this system offers you. I still actually think that you can give back all your documentation and walk away, and the system, it'll leave you alone. But you can't have any of it.
Yeah.
You can't use any of it.
No, you can't go to the doctors or ring for the police or...
No, because you've got the slave number, the national insurance number. That is your only unique identification number throughout England and Wales.
Yeah.
Now, Scotland and Ireland have got different ways of doing this, by the way. It's only England and Wales that have got NI numbers like we know them. But back to where I was. We're born into a system of sophisticated slavery. We all know that now. But anybody who tells you that they can get you out of it, anybody who tells you that they can get you some cash back, anybody who says they can get you to not have to pay a bill, they're going to charge you something. Now, these people may genuinely think they can do it, and I think a lot of them do. There is no evidence.
No.
Not evidence that you can go and prove. There is no one I know who has thrown the keys back at the bank and said, I'm not paying my mortgage. But you can do it. You can do it. You can give them the house back because they took a risk as well. But we're going to learn in the future that we live, this debt-based money system means that the bank have issued it all, which means that all the money in circulation belongs to the bank that has accounted for it. So we're going to learn that even if you've got some money in a bank account, the bank is going to claim it's theirs because it represents currency that belongs to them. Because they, along with the Bank of England, the Queen's Controller, issued it. Yeah. And that's why you're going to eventually be charged to keep your money in the bank. Because as far as they're concerned, it's theirs. This is a system, ultimately, of fascism. And that's where big business and government get together to take everything you've got away.
Yeah.
And we don't live long enough to have ever seen this tried or even succeeded to some extent in other countries. Now, it's always failed before. It's always failed at the final hurdle to some extent. But with today's modern technology and the methods of drugging us they now have, and to propagandize the people, we're so far away from home that I don't know if we can turn this around. I know I want to, and I'll stand shoulder to shoulder with anybody else who wants to turn it around. But none of our gurus are saying, replace the corruption, challenge it and replace it, challenge it and replace it. And the people who say, well, I don't want to support this system, well, you already are. You already have been all your life.
Yes.
If you think there's another way out of this, if you think, let's let it all crash and see what happens then, you're not going to be better off.
And if you're at the bottom, you're definitely not going to be better off.
No, you're not. So, well, let's wait and see what happens when it all goes cashless. We're nearly 98% there. I don't have to wonder about what happens when it goes cashless. I already know that everything that I buy and sell will be tracked and traced and charged accordingly. The only reason they haven't gone cashless is because the economy will collapse without the grey economy.
Yeah.
They don't have enough people in place to eliminate this grey economy right now.
Yeah.
But they're going to. They're definitely going to.
Well,
but it'll be through a process of snitches.
Yes.
That's
I'm glad
how
you
it's going
said
to be done.
that, because this is a war against. They want your money, and we don't want to give them it.
Yeah.
So it's a war over money.
It's always been that.
But wars are always fought dirty, and they always fight wars dirty with double agents.
Uh-huh.
And that's somebody that's got foot in their camp and telling them all the little secrets, and then going over there to the other camp and telling them all them little secrets. And that's just what we've got here. That's just what we've got.
We
with
don't
this
know.
spy
Do we?
grid.
We don't know. This is a spy who doesn't love us, and we've welcomed it into our house. We polish it, we clean it, we update it, and when it's old, we replace it.
Yeah.
And yet we know all it does. We've said our TVs are spying on us. Your mobile phones have been doing it. That's what they're designed for. Your Sky boxes or satellite boxes or Freeview boxes. Your computer, your little laptop, your street lights. They're openly now saying that cars are going to be remote controlled to some extent. But we've got 4 million cameras watching us all lifetime. We've got Amstrad developing face recognition technology. And still, we don't get, in large enough numbers, agitated.
No.
We should be agitated by now. But a lack of history, and because we've been brought back down to me, and my survival, we're only going to kick if we're hungry. Because that is how they know to start riots. They starve you. Now, artificial scarcity was going on in the 1700s.
It was, yeah.
There was riots over bread, over the strength of beer.
They even gave it a name. They gave creating artificial scarcity a name, and they called it mercantile.
Yes, they did.
And they even stuck mercantile credit together.
They did.
Mercantile credit. They did it in the Klondike when they were looking for gold. They put a scarcity on shovels and picks, and they purposely held them back, and people were actually killing themselves over shovels and picks.
These people hate us.
They do.
And it's an awful thing to realise, but you know it's true.
You do, yeah.
You do know that it's true now. And they've always hated us, but they've always needed us. They don't now.
And the thing is, these people that think they're needed, that are working for the government, let me just tell you, because we opened up this second segment about war. Now, there's a lady during the war, and she was a secret agent, and I can't remember what her name is, but a film was made of it about it, and she actually died practically penniless in a flat in London, and they didn't even know she'd died. So, and she'd given services to this country and Her Majesty the Queen in that war, and she was left to rot, basically. Now, if you think that these people are looking after you because you've got a good job working for them, think again.
No.
You are nothing to them. They don't care a jot about you. You've got to look after yourself. Look after yourself and your family. That's what you've got to do. And not give a jot about anything else that goes on elsewhere in your other than in your little world, because that's the only little world that you can change.
It's the only thing we have a right to change is
It
ourselves.
Yes.
We don't really get this. I mean,
No.
Facebook isn't real.
No.
Just if you deleted your account on Facebook, actually deleted it. You said goodbye to everybody, and then deleted it. I wonder how many weeks would you sit at home waiting for one of those connections to knock on your door and see how you are? Because I don't think they'd ever turn up. I'm pretty sure they'd never turn up. What made the difference to you from reading the news and watching the internet? What was it that changed your perception, your depth of understanding, and your desire to actually learn? Because learning is something that school actually deterred us from doing. It taught us what we thought education was, and we didn't like it.
Taught us is exactly what it did. It slowed us down.
Taught us, exactly.
Yeah.
And we didn't like it.
No.
So we never came back to books for years because we thought there was nothing in it for us.
Yes.
And it was only 5 years ago that we came back to books.
Yeah.
And it's something we've been embarrassed about ever since, isn't it?
It certainly is, yeah. And
because we are. They're waking the dead on purpose.
Yeah.
They're waking the dead so that some of us can become the undertakers. And the undertakers, they know that you're dead, but they can speak to you and you can hear them. And these undertakers are going to gently take you to your end, and they're going to pretend to be your friend because they woke you. They woke the dead. You realised that you were dead, and now you think you're awake, but you're listening to your undertaker, who's still going to bury you, but you're going to have to pay him to do it. I know. I don't think many people are going to get that.
Dog tags.
I don't think so. I really don't.
The general term for people who have no idea of their dark agenda and who have never looked into any of their ideologies, never have looked into any of their symbolism, can't read their symbolism, don't know what plan they have for them, which is basically eugenics and ultimately extermination. They call the average person who basically doesn't read books, and who doesn't pay attention to what's going on around them, and sits in their house, basically, with the pattern of wake up, go to work, come home, eat, watch TV, go to sleep, and then repeat the same pattern over and over and over again. They call people like that the dead, because they consider that they're not really intelligent, they're completely apathetic, and they'll just continue to do the same thing over and over again. And not care that, our rights are being taken away, not care that there's total social inequality and injustice in the world. And they won't take any action. So somebody who is ignorant, apathetic, and lazy, and cowardly, in their mind, isn't alive. Because those are the qualities that really make you alive and human. You have the ability to use your mind, you have the ability to care about something, and then you have the ability to act on something. And they consider that the people of the world are basically not doing any of these three things, and they're not using them in any kind of higher capacity. Okay? All they know is what they're told through the idiot box or in the yellow journalist newspapers. All they care about is their own little individual life, their own little individual situation, or the few people that they surround themselves with on a daily basis, even if they care about that. And they basically don't do anything except the things that are required to procure enough money to put shelter around them, food on their table, and if there's any left over after that, maybe to have some form of entertainment or sexual escapade. And that's about the end of the extent that they act on anything. So therefore, if these three components of consciousness aren't activated, the occult rulers consider those people not alive, literally dead spiritually. And therefore, their rationale is, we're not doing this to real living people. We're doing this to people who are already robots. And therefore, we can't really be held accountable because these are just dead clumps of flesh, dead clumps of matter. They're not really human beings. That is literally how they think of this. I'm not paraphrasing or, putting my spin on this. I'm telling you that is exactly how they think of the average person. And I've heard this from them.
Hang on a second.
And when you were involved in this, that's why I wanted to, you're like the perfect person because you have from an insider, a former insider's view.
Right, that was Mr. Mark Passio. Thank you to Mark. That's a little episode that I took from a couple of years ago, actually.
Yep.
But I slid the wrong button down to start with. Technical problems.
It shows we're only human.
Fiddly fingers. But yeah, that was Mark Passio, who I've listened to over the years. I've not listened to him just recently, but he certainly was part of my understanding. But yeah, getting back to what we're saying, that we are the dead that they're busy waking up. Mm-hmm. Why are they waking us up? Because they want a revolution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We need to ask ourselves some straightforward questions. Where do we get most of our information from? The spy who doesn't love us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where do we make most of our connections?
Mm-hmm.
The spy who doesn't love us.
Mm-hmm.
Where do we get most of our news from? Because this has become a familiar story, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where do most of our gurus live? Right? The real world is playing less and less of a part in our lives as the virtual reality, or virtual insanity as we should call it, is taking over.
Yeah. And you've got to be careful asking for revolution, because
revolution's to install a dictator, not depose one.
And it usually gets rid of a lot of people. It's usually a good excuse for to kill a few people. So be careful. Are you going to be one of those ones that's going to stick their head above the parapet and be taken down?
We've completely forgotten that it's up to us to produce the things we need.
Yes.
Now, even in this system that provides for those that won't or can't, it's still up to us to be the best version of ourselves we can be.
Mm.
It was reading that gave me depth and understanding. It was reading that stopped me arguing and fighting. And it was reading that made me see the internet for what it is. Nothing more than an apprenticeship that you have to leave at some point.
Yeah.
You have to... The internet might say, think for yourself. But then it busies itself telling you what to think.
Mm.
It doesn't teach you how to think.
No.
You can say to people, and this causes all sorts of problems, but can you think something that nobody else has told you? And they can't. Okay. But this is because they can't.
If we want to challenge this system that's in place, then we need something to come up with. The things that rule this place are Oxford and Cambridge.
And Eton.
Yes, Eton as well, and Harrow, and all these schools, these places where they go to get indoctrinated in the craft. They learn the craft well. They learn how these politicians, they're just professional liars. That they learn how to turn.
But they're actually wizards. They're wizards, aren't they?
Yes,
they are actually wizards because they spin us round very hard.
Yeah,
they make us go round and round in circles, so we'd have no clue which way's up.
Yeah. I said last week, this is nothing new. They built Stonehenge in a circle. They knew then, even back then, just going round in circles. It's if we want to challenge this, then we've got to get a bit smarter, I think. Do we need our own schools? Do we need our own universities where we go to, where we gather and we teach our craft?
What did we say last week? If you want something doing,
do it yourself.
Do it yourself.
Yeah.
That starts with homeschooling your own kids.
Yes.
But you can't afford to.
No.
The system knows this.
It does, yeah. Of
course it does. Remember, those that have saved will be able to save themselves.
Mm.
Those that haven't saved are currently being saved.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much longer. This system wants to keep us on the edge of our seats.
Mm-hmm.
It wants to keep us terrified of what tomorrow's going to bring.
Yeah.
But in the same way, addicted to go find out.
Mm.
All the information now is being supplied by one central source. The spy who doesn't love you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know in the Truman Show, that's a benevolent controller who's just bringing Truman up in a perfect world. But it's not the Truman Show that you're living in. It is, because we're all being watched. But the controllers... For them, this is the wet dream they've been waiting for all their lives.
Certainly is.
This is where any agency can say, I want the file on whoever.
Mm.
And lifetime, they can find out where you are.
They can.
And then the hard drive that you're attached to will have all the relevant information.
It will.
Going back to a point that I don't know when.
Well, that's happened to me this week. There's two things happened to me this week that's very strange. The first one was I was round at my pal's house doing some repairs for him. He had a colander on his roof that that was acting like a roof. So I was busy there trying to repair it and stop the rain coming in. And while I was there, I wanted to show him on something that somebody had sent me on Facebook.
This was the Scottish cop stop, wasn't it?
This was the Scottish cop.
Which everyone's raving around, but it's still got a
Claire
ticket.
Fenwick. I know.
Those cops were ace. I mean, they knew they were going to be on YouTube. They were ace cops.
It was a good clip that I loved.
And they're still ticketed.
It made me chuckle. I love it. It made. I was down last week. I was proper down, and it made me laugh, and that's why I liked it. But I was trying to show it to my pal on his computer, and I couldn't find it on through his Facebook, so I had to go on his computer to access my Facebook.
Yep.
And his device.
Yeah, that's what they call him. Yeah.
This device does not recognise you as the user of this device, and you're wanting to go on somebody else's Facebook. Anyway, to get onto my Facebook, it had to ask me some security questions.
Of course it does.
Can I ask you some security questions? So it did the obligatory, can you match these letters and numbers up, blah, 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 do this. But then it asked me a question, and I got a bit spooked at that time, and I thought, hang on, it's asking me another question. It doesn't normally ask you another question. And I thought, I turned the computer around, and I says, oh, no, I'll send it to you, don't matter. And then I thought, no, you've been paranoid. I were intrigued as to what it was going to ask me. So I clicked on, ask me another security question. It asked me, can you put down the name of the street that you lived in when you was 8 years old? And I couldn't believe it. I thought,
I must have a go at this.
I'm going to have... I go around to your mate's house and or whatever and try set up your Facebook account on somebody else's computer. I'll ask a question. So I thought, right, I'm going to test this, whether it's right or whether it's got the right information or not. And I put in the street where I lived when I was 8 years old, and it came up and it said, you are correct. It told me I was correct, that where I lived when I was 8 years old, just in case I'd forgotten. But that new information about me that I had not put on there.
Now, people are going to say, but maybe it was filled in, it didn't know, but you filled it in, so you filled a gap in for it.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
But
if you think it's not got all the information about you on there, think again. That knows you from when your date of birth to, and it probably knows when you're going to snuff it as well.
Well, I've actually said before, haven't I, that I reckon there's a hard drive with my name on it.
Yeah.
And everything that I do is on that hard drive. Now, I don't know how far back, but I would say there's an army of people filling in the gaps. Because this system has got nothing else better to do than study us.
Yeah.
And it's been doing it forever. Because they observe and then preserve it. They save it.
Yeah.
And they don't do it so much now. But the way to save it was to put it into the language, but give us a false version. So we had one decode of what it meant, whereas they knew the second decode, the duality. And you and I have spent our entire time together decoding how this language really works. And it is simply brilliant. But no one's really picked up on it for us. And it's a shame, really, because for us it opened the door of really understanding.
It did, yeah.
How it's been done.
Yeah.
We know that programs are what we watch, and we know programs are what computers operate on. And we know that the coax has been the delivery method for many years. And we now know to put coax together is to coax.
Yeah.
But we still don't see the depth. We still don't keep going and marching down that road of how deep it is. The news will never wake you up. It will only ever make you aware of how the world is working. And there's so much to try and take in that the news will be just like a random access memory. You'll fill it up today, and then tomorrow you'll switch on and fill it up again, and then tomorrow you'll switch on and fill it up again, and none of it will go in.
No,
none of it.
Won't.
Because the news services that we have access to now for free are going to change over time. All magazines, you have to buy magazines. Just like you have to buy bullets for guns, they come in magazines as well. Magazines just have bullet points.
Yes.
But I realise that you don't think that's connected.
It can't be.
It's because we don't understand that the culture that we've been made started an awful long time ago.
It did.
It didn't start a couple of years ago.
No.
It didn't start when you found out. It didn't start 20 years ago. It didn't start with your mum. It didn't start with your gran. It didn't start with your great-great. No. It started well before then. This has been a system of storytelling that has advanced to such a stage now where we can't tell what's true or false.
No.
But we fight anyway over it.
And we don't know who to trust.
It's perfect. It's worked really well. It's worked really well because we actually argue about who's right and wrong.
Yeah.
But this is ridiculous.
It is.
This is ridiculous. I mean, you and I have developed a friendship over the years that is unbreakable.
Yeah.
And the reason we've done that is because we speak to each other. We have face-to-face contact.
We do.
And
over a cup of tea.
And we don't
over
just.
A beer.
But we don't skirt the subjects.
No.
We're not frightened to get right into how it really feels.
And have a crack of how it's turning out. Or how it may turn out.
Yeah, but we've shared conversations that are important. You can't have with everybody. We've shared things that make this relationship, our friendship, different to the other ones.
Yeah.
There's a trust and an understanding that I'll never have to question again. I just know I won't ever have to question it. I'll never have to worry about what you might be saying behind my back. Because whatever you're saying behind my back, if it's important, you'll tell me.
Yeah.
And if it isn't, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, no. And it isn't what I wouldn't say to your face anyway.
We've done that.
Yeah.
We've done that. We've actually openly argued and said, you're wrong.
Yeah.
And you said, no, you're wrong. But we've gone over it. And this is what, particularly our kids, don't have this level of interaction because they're doing it all through gadgets. So they don't have the depth of a real friendship, which is why the gadget is going to become their main friend. As this becomes more and more user-friendly, eventually it'll start to speak back. And that's the point where the kid's going to love this more, because this will never argue with him. His pals will be fighting and falling out and battling for supremacy. But this thing, have you had a hard day? You put your feet up. What can I play for you? You tell me all about it. That's where it's going.
Yeah.
We're going to become the computer. But only the inside. The outside will still be owned by the advertisers. But the inside will be owned by the computer. This is scary times.
It is, and it's owned right from what you put on your hair to the shoes on your feet, isn't it?
The advertisers dress you.
Yeah.
This thing's going to educate you.
It is, yeah.
But it's not an education that you really need.
No.
But it'll give you everything you want when you want it, on demand, and you'll still feel like you're in charge. Oh, the battle. The eternal battle, God and Satan. Yeah.
It is.
Or Lucifer and Satan. Or the sun and Saturn. They've externalised everything. They've made us look outside of ourselves for every answer to every question, to every problem. Hollywood has given us every film. If we can't decode it, we're just told that they're predicting the future. You see, when we watch films, we can't believe how much of the decode is in there.
I know. Yeah.
It's so enjoyable and so rewarding to watch them. And we know that what films are really doing is asking. They're asking, you okay with this? You okay with this? These news stories are, you okay with this? You okay with this? They seem okay with everything. So let's turn the heat up.
Yeah.
You okay with this? Well, you're alright with that, yeah?
Well,
you okay with this?
That leads us into...
You see, but it gets stronger and stronger.
Yeah.
You see, we've
the little clip with Matt Damon that we watched.
You okay with this? They're okay with everything. So they're going to be okay with everything because you get more confident as you go. Oh, they're okay with this. Stuff it. Tell them about that.
Yeah.
These people are dead. They don't react to anything. We can tell them we're jacking the food. We can tell them we're jacking the water. We can virtually strip search them at airports. And they still don't kick off.
No.
And they want us to consider them for the future. The computer wants to know everything about you, and it's not prepared to pay you for a penny of it.
It isn't, no.
So it comes up with a method of making you give them it. The madness is descending upon us.
It certainly
You've
is.
had a phone call this week that was madness.
I have, yes.
I had one last week that was madness.
Yeah.
And you think, am I talking English? I mean, would it be faster if I emailed or texted or something? Because this language lark is completely losing you.
Yeah.
And you question yourself, don't you?
And it's just total fear. It was just so funny. I'm sure that Al Qaeda must be getting their vehicles serviced at a garage in Harrogate, because I was trying to book the wife's car in for some emergency repairs because it's gone wrong. Yeah, and the amount of questions I got asked because it wasn't my car. Oh, it's not your vehicle. No, it's my wife's vehicle. Can we go through some security questions?
Because we're frightened of cars.
Security questions. I only want it repairing. I don't want it making bomb-proof or out like that. You know what I mean? No, we're just going to and from work.
Yeah, but the Data Protection Act.
Yeah.
So what data is it you're protecting? My name, my address, and my email address. Which is easy to find on 192.com and Facebook.
That's what I had to give them all.
It's just a joke, isn't it?
2 telephone numbers.
But and people be like, it's just Joinder. No, it's just a bloody garage.
It's just a garage.
It's just a garage with they're making it all the same.
Yeah.
So all we do is command prompt. Command prompt.
Yeah.
The computer says I must ask this. So I do.
I've got to ask it. The daftest thing was, though, we need some emergency repairs doing, and I explained to the receptionist over the phone what was wrong with the vehicle, and she said, we have 2 ways of doing it. You can either book it in, or you can come and you can sit and wait while it's repaired. I says, I'll have the sit and wait until it's repaired. I'll sit and wait until it's done, because I'm sure they'll be able to fix it quite quickly.
Bearing in mind it's November the 26th.
Yeah. And she said, I'll have a look on the computer and see when the next available date is. I must have been on the phone 10 minutes, just waiting for her to find this date on the computer. And she said, will the 27th be all right? And I says, oh, yeah, that sounds all right.
That was yesterday.
This was yesterday.
Yesterday being the 25th.
The 25th.
So the 27th will be tomorrow.
It's going to be tomorrow. I says, oh, yeah, that sounds all right. Yeah, tomorrow, I'll bring it down on Wednesday. She says, no, December the 27th. I says, no, hang on a minute. The car's playing up. We need it repairing. Anyway,
now has got these call centres, but the idiot on the other end of the line's got a script to go by, and he can't come off the script. Fuck no. You ring them up and you go, I'd like to open an account on the internet. And they go, oh, can I have your account number, please? Well, no, I ain't got one yet because I'm not on the internet, am I? Oh, yeah, gotcha. Can I have your account number, please? And they have a script to go by, but they wouldn't like it if we had a script and we stuck to our script. They wouldn't like that very much. You know, you get BT call you up to remind you to pay your bill, and they go, can I speak to the account holder, please? And we go, I am Spartacus. No, the account holder, please. No, I am Spartacus.
That's just what it's like, isn't it?
It was just like
just
that.
What it's like. I mean, I brought my chipper the week before. Last Monday, my chipper broke. Brand new one. I'd had it 2 weeks. My old chipper, Old Faithful, somewhere in the region of 60 plus years old, right, had gone to the repair company in Leeds. And I'd said, look, this chipper is, maybe it's about time I retired it and put it into spare, and I'm going to get a new one. So I bought a new one from them. And they brought me the new one 3 weeks ago and took Old Faithful away. 2 weeks afterwards, the new one broke. So I rang up last Monday morning. The chipper's broken. What's wrong with it? I said, it's just broken. The things that go round aren't going round. And it doesn't make a noise. It's just broken. Right, okay. Now, where are you? I told him already. right now we're going to have to. There'll be a pickup charge. Obviously, we do it over. We'll come and pick. I said, no, it's your chipper. Is it? Yeah. I bought it brand new from you guys 2 weeks ago. I see. Right, I see. And I said, and you've got my old chipper there. And if that was repaired, bring me my old chipper back and take this one. What old chipper? I said, you've got my old... So you've got a spare chipper? And I said, you've got it. We've got it. I said, yeah, hopefully you repaired it. Did you want a replacement chipper? And I thought, this is just nuts. This is just nuts. And we just went round and round in circles. It's
getting scary, isn't it?
Yeah,
it
is getting scary, yeah.
Another little thing that's happened as well to us this week, it just happened today. Karen's just paid the bills online. We read the meters online, and she puts the meter readings in.
Yep.
And they'd sent us the estimated bill, and the estimated bill was more than the meter readings. So we've paid £40 less.
Right.
She did that last week. Today gets a knock on the door. Hello, come to read your meters. And I said, I just looked at him. I said, have you got an appointment? He says, no, we don't make appointments.
Oh.
I says, oh, well, I'm afraid you'll have to make an appointment to come here. I says, if I have to come to your place of business, I'd have to make an appointment, wouldn't I? Well, yeah, I suppose you would, yes. Well, you've got to make one if you want to come here, so ta-ra. And he says, I'll just make a note of it on my screen, is that alright? I says, you make a note of whatever you like, mate, but you're not coming in here to
I get him ringing up as well, because
appointment.
I get him ringing up saying, we just, could you read the meter for us? I say, yeah, I'm sure I could. How much do you pay the meter read guy to come and read it? Well, I don't know. All right. So you want me to read the meter for nothing and save you money?
Save money.
So you're making record profits. You're making 70% more per customer this year than you were last year. And you want me to read the meter for you so you can make some more profits. I think I'll just keep the meter guy in the job if that's all right with you. And they usually say, yeah, it's all right.
But what alerted it to me, and I said to Karen today, I said, do you realise we're criminals now? Because they don't believe our meter readings.
Oh, God,
because we're 40 quid light on the bill. And they think we're diddling it. She says, I know.
It's the makers and the takers, my friend.
Yes, it is, yeah.
We get to be makers, and they get to be the takers, and they figure out every which way they can to take everything we make.
Yep.
And that's how it's stacked up right now.
Yeah.
And I don't know how we can really challenge it.
Well,
we've been trying to build a collective here in Ripon for a little while.
Yeah.
And someone said to us a couple of weeks ago, well, I don't know what we're doing in Ripon. You're all right in Ripon. You're rich in Ripon, aren't you?
Yes, we
Apparently
did.
we just are.
We just are.
Apparently we just are, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this was somebody who claims to be awake.
Yeah.
I do question people
yes.
who claim to be awake.
That's one of the reasons why I was down last week. Yeah.
I do question because you're not awake.
You know.
I can only speak for myself, and we've walked along this path together.
We have.
If you're awake, you don't feel the need to argue.
No.
You don't feel the need to butt in. You don't feel the need to show off. And you don't feel the need to talk to people who clearly don't want to talk to you. But I don't see that.
No.
I don't see that. I see, look at me, 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 look at me. I know more than you do, and I got stuff to sell you. I know more than you do, and I got stuff to sell you. They don't sell me anything.
No,
because I'm not on here to be sold to.
Nothing. No, they don't sell it to me, and I'm
because
not,
shared
I'm
experiences.
Not buying into anything anymore.
Shared experiences is what we. If there's one thing about getting older that we can actually celebrate, is that we're not fooled anymore.
No.
This is a brand new marketplace, but it's the same old fairground.
It is, yeah.
It's got the same stalls.
It has.
The same attractions. It's got the same draws.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's got the same audience as well, who just wander around from tent to tent, show to show, story to story, and they won't leave it.
No.
It's a playground a firewall playground that our controllers don't hear.
And the only difference with that fairground is you don't even come away with a goldfish.
You've been fished.
You have, yes.
We're slowly but surely being put into sects. Okay, Facebook is doing it. Particularly Facebook is doing it. And it puts you into sects. It talks about, I think Google talks about circles and that sort of thing. Circles, mate. But I wish people would sometimes go back and go through the shows, or even contact us privately and say, tell us about this going round in circles and fish and ships thing, because it doesn't make sense. I said, well, I can tell you how to do it. I can tell you how to work it out. It's the language you've been brought into. It's the very world of water, the wonderful world of water that you think is the World Wide Web, which it is. Because we've been put into sects. And insects is what the predator who built the web eats. That's what it feeds off. This machine, its controllers are getting very rich off selling what we are to the people who want to sell to us. So again, we're not only the customers, but we're the employees as well. Because the people on the invisible side of this mirror are getting paid by us using it. We built the whole thing, or paid for it. We now use and update it. And we don't get anything back. This is the time-stealing machine.
It is.
It's a money stealer. We're coming towards the end of our Tuesday.
We are.
And I sometimes think, how can I finish the show in a way that helps somebody? And I'm thinking to myself, how do you describe the depth? How do you describe the depth? How do you do it where everything makes sense, no matter who sees it? The reason it makes sense to everybody who sees it is because the very least you've got in your head is the basic programs.
Yes.
To decode and say, well, that's just how it is. Well, that's just how it is. Well, I don't really know why that's called that or why we do that, but we just do. I don't know why we go to church on Christmas Eve, but we've always done it. I don't know why we buy eggs at Easter, but we've always done it. I don't really know why, and but we do it anyway. It's all part of our culture and heritage. That's the basic decode. But there's so much more to it. And people say, yeah, I know what it is. I hope you do.
Yeah.
I hope that you get to realise that the only responsibility you have is firstly to yourself. To make yourself the best version of you can be.
You can be, yeah.
There is nothing else that you should be interested in doing. And that it becomes a passion, doesn't it? And passion is just, I pass on. Because that's what we should be. Passing on. Pass I on. Is the passion to learn.
Yes.
I wish I'd been infected with this 20 years ago.
So do I.
But these are pointless looking backs. I would have been calmer. I would have made better decisions. I would have understood why people made their decisions. And I would have been able to take advantage of understanding how the world really worked. And because I believed the TV, and because I read the magazines, and because I thought all girls weren't the same, I got it wrong.
Yeah.
And I kept getting it wrong. And I kept getting it wrong. And I blamed everybody else for me getting it wrong.
I did too. And there's two words that I didn't use enough, and that was no and no.
If I could share something with the girls, it's a good one. If I could share something with the girls, I'd try and say that if you love your fella and you want him to love you back, just say thanks very much. Just say thanks every now and again. Because that's all guys want, isn't it? I can't think of a relationship that I've been in where someone said, thanks very much. And it's that simple. Another Tuesday.
Certainly is. Thank you, Paul, and thank you, everybody, for listening.
There is a tune that I'm going to play at the end here. And it's because we only have the one life, don't we? We only have the one. And if you've got someone to share it with, remember that feeling when you first met. Remember the excitement. Remember how important it was to have brushed your teeth and pressed your trousers. Remember washing the car when it didn't need washing. Buying a new air freshener. Opening the door. And just wanting to see that smile in her eyes. Just, you knew that she loved you too. There was a time when you just knew. And you felt the best you've ever felt. It was the best version of you that ever existed. Because somebody loved you. If there's nothing else you can do, we can love people.
Mm-hmm. We certainly can.
Until next week. It's good night from me.
And good night from me.